Hi everyone, this is KnifeFighter22 here. I hope you guys are all well. Now today I wanted to take you through a game which I had on chess.com earlier today, and I thought I would highlight it because there was quite a nice trap that came out of it from the King's Gambit opening. It just highlights how when you get into these open, aggressive positions, your pieces really come out to play and you have some opportunities to trap your opponent. Okay, so as I said, I started off with the King's Gambit. So there we go. And the whole main idea, for those of you who don't know the King's Gambit, is to try and peel off this centre pawn and get quick development. If people haven't seen the King's Gambit, I am going to do another tutorial on it soon. There's an old tutorial on my channel which I think needs updating, so I'm going to do another one in the near future. So the main move here is actually to play e takes f4 and then to play corresponding knight f3. But I'll get into that another time. My opponent plays knight to c6, simply defending the pawn. I now play knight to f3 for two main reasons. The first one is to bring the knight out, contributing to attacking this e5 pawn. The second one is that knight to f3 prevents this queen from coming down to h4. So for example, if I was to play another move, say for example knight to c3, then this queen can come down to h4 and it can get a little bit threatening. You know, I know he can play g3, but he can just move his queen back, and there's a lot of pressure on f4, and my king side is very, very open. So I go ahead and play knight to f3. It's the easiest move. I also want to be castling on this open f-file, so that's why I go ahead and do that. He now plays pawn up to d6, probably the most logical move just to defend his pawns. I play my bishop out to c4. This is a very useful move, attacking the f7 square. In the future, I was thinking of getting knight up to g5 and having a double attack here. This next move is very, very strong. He plays bishop to g4, just pinning down my knight to the queen. And because this is one of the main pieces contributing to my position, it can often get a little bit risky for me to have this bishop here, but I just ignore it and go ahead and castle. Now, his next move, I think, was a little bit of a mistake because it opens up his king side quite a lot. He plays his pawn up to f6, and you might be thinking, yes, he has a very solid structure, but on the other hand, it makes his light squares quite weak, especially if he was to go ahead and trade off this light square bishop. With my light square bishop here, you know, this diagonal is very open, and my light square bishop's in play, so it can often make your light squares very weak, but still, he has a strong fortress on e5 here. I then go ahead and play knight up to c3, just looking at this d5 outpost, and he goes knight from g to e7. Probably the most logical square for the knight, considering that f6 is now blocked off. If you were to go to h6, then obviously f5 is taken, and there's no point in bringing his knight back to h7. I now play h3, just seeing what he wants to do with this bishop. He doesn't back down though. He keeps that pin nice and strong. I didn't go ahead and play g4 here because the bishop can get back to f7, so I'm not going to trap the bishop. If you imagine this pawn was still on f7, what would happen is I could play g4, he'd play bishop f6, I'd play f5, sorry, he'd play bishop g6, I'd play f5, and then his bishop will be locked down and trapped. But there's no point in me playing g4 and exposing my king if his bishop is going to be able to retreat back to f7 and actually trade off with my light square bishop. I don't want that. So now I play d3, and here comes the critical point in the game. So he's thinking, how can I strengthen my position if this knight's not doing much, it can't move around, you know, if this bishop's locked in, if this bishop's been blunted out. He played his knight down to d4, and what he's doing with knight to d4 is he's exploiting this pin I've got on the knight. So for example, if you look at the position, if he were to take my knight on the next move, i.e. if I didn't do anything about the threat, I would have to take back with my pawn. Because if I took back with my rook, I'd be trading a bishop for a rook, or I'd be trading a bishop and a knight for a rook and a knight, which means I'd end up 2 points down on material. Obviously I can't take back with my queen, because then I'd be trading a queen for a bishop, excluding the knights, because they cancel each other out. So I would have to take back with my pawn, I'd have an open g-file, and after he gets this pawn up to f5, maybe knight g6, putting pressure on f4, he could get his queen out to g5, and that would be really scary because my king would be completely open. But what I spot here is actually a little trap I could get him into. Just go ahead and pause the video and see if you can see it. Okay, so what I do is I go ahead and play knight takes e5. Now, you might be thinking, oh, well, you know, my queen is ready to be taken now. And that's exactly what happened in the game. He went to go take on d1, but he fell for the trap because bishop to f7 is checkmate. And, you know, his king is blocked. He can't take the bishop. He can't move to d7 because the knight's protecting d7 and he lost the game. But if we go back a couple moves, there is a much better option for him in this position, which was to simply take the knight. I would say probably with the e pawn. No, probably with the f pawn. But yeah, he could have taken back, and then what I would have done in that position is it would have finished up pretty much equal. So I would have played queen takes h5 check to take the bishop and win back my material. He would have played something like g6, weakening his king side further, and then I might have played the queen back to g4 to exploit these weak diagonals. Another option was just to play the queen back to d1 to look after the c2 pawn because the knight's attacking it. Another option was to play bishop to b3, but I didn't really want to do that because knight would be traded off for this strong bishop operating on the weak diagonals. But there you go, that was the trap for you. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.